Welcome everyone. Check. Let me just see if the audio is coming out, because I changed a couple of things on the back end. So do let me know if you can see me and hear me. Okay, all good. Alright, so I am in a short DAX trade on my account, so I can run through that really quickly. Now DAX was pretty lively during Asia. That's unusual to see. We smacked right into the ADR low, promptly reacted from there, rotated all the way back up, and then did the classic, you have the overnight high, we take that out with a little bit of volume, and then we reverse. So this is just an idea of a continuation. One slight issue there is that we are inside the London value, so that could have a limited downside, and this is why I'm not going to be chasing it all the way down to wherever it came from, but literally just looking for the average session range for the London to exhaust, and that kind of falls somewhere around 23,770. So we'll see how that is going. And no, we cannot trade DAX on Topstep, but just wanted to just tell you what I'm doing in my own account. All right. But let's focus on the day. If you're new here, welcome. I've been trading for 18 years. My name is D, aka Deeyana Angelo. I've been with Topstep in some shape or form for about 10 years now, so I got to know everybody pretty well when we still had the Squawk radio, very, very long time ago. That was just a radio service that Eddie was hosting, and the rest of us were kind of popping in as guests. And then some 2.5 years ago, they were starting TopstepTV, and they invited me to ask me whether I wanted to be a part of it, and I thought it was a great idea. So I joined the team probably in the second week of TopstepTV. So we've been here from the very beginning. And we're going to keep going. Now, I am Series 3 qualified, but I'm not a CTA, so anything you see today is for educational purposes only. Bruno has posted a risk disclaimer in the chat, so please make sure to familiarize yourself with that. Do not blindly follow any trades. If you are here to learn, we welcome you, but just be mindful this is not a signal service. Sandra wants me to have a look at gold. Yeah, I can look at gold. I have moved away from trading gold for a while, purely because I'm waiting for its volatility to kind of come back to some normality, because this is, while it does bring opportunity, to me it's a little outside of what I want to risk on a trade, and it would need, for the style that I trade, catching about 30 to 40% of the day's move, if there is one, I would need pretty sizable stops. So I don't like doing that. But we can have a look at the levels and prepare for COMEX and for the day. The first thing to note, let's have a look at the weekly chart. What do we have on the weekly? It's not looking that hot, is it? Now, I am looking for a further drop if it comes. I'm not saying it's going to come. I don't have a crystal ball. But if it ever ends up getting down to sort of 3,700, I would be interested in maybe looking at some longer term longs and becoming a bargain hunter, maybe in some gold miners for long-term plays. And why? It's because when we get to ballpark that area, so 3,700, we would have dropped about 15-16% from the top. And traditionally that is a pretty good area for strong uptrending markets to start looking for some bigger investments. But on the intraday side, gold is still a little crazy. And I know that Joe, I did read your message. You sent me the new contract that CME is coming up with on gold, which is like 100th of the full contract. That's quite interesting. The range has come down a little bit from like 1,400 ticks per day down to 928. But that's still a little too crazy, right? I would like to see that come down to about 500-600. Then I would go back to it. But when it comes to the levels, let's have a look at COMEX value. So we are currently inside it. COMEX value high 39.84. So I am going to pop in a nice purple line for the value high. Let's give it a name. This is what I do every single day, except I do have some tools that help me automate that because I do have a software development company where we create all of these lovely indicators. The ones that I showed you in DAX, so that automatically plots, said that really weird, automatically plots the value areas, average daily ranges. It tracks them because I use dynamically tracked averages in order to figure out the potential exhaustion on the day. So COMEX value high is there, COMEX value low is 39.51. That's good enough. Okay, close enough, right? And the way I calculate values is by Dalton's original idea in the books, where you take two TPOs either side and then you add them up until you get to 70%. So most of the tools that I've seen kicking around, they actually do it slightly wrong. I don't know why, but it's almost like they didn't bother reading what Dalton has been telling us, how he calculates value. So I will stick to what I know has worked for me for orientation purposes and accuracy as well. Like sometimes I see, or a lot of the times I see a mean reversion go down to the value high tick or the value low tick, and then it reverses, and that's you know, a testament to Peter Steidlmayer and Dalton. But yeah, so that's the first thing I look for. The next thing, like I said, ADRs, so quantitative extremes. How much range are we working with today? Pretty wide. So 39.04 is the ADR low, and then to the upside, we have 40.28. And I'm going to make it red to signify that the upside has been exhausted at that point. Now with gold, with any kind of liquid products, you may see them wagging around a little bit, overshooting. You know, it's not none of the levels are necessarily an exact measure, because trading is not an exact science. So everything I look at, it's more like a zone. It's not to say that sometimes we may hit to the tick on the options level and then reverse, but for the most part you need to give it some leeway. Now initial balance high and low, I plotted it as a blue line on the chart for London. Let's put that in the middle. There it is. Gold is trying to go below the initial balance at the moment. Whether they're successful or not remains to be seen. So I know that there is a call wall up at 4,000. Not really surprising, right? And whilst yesterday we were kind of bleeding down through it, They were using it sort of as an orientation point. Who's they? The wizards, the market makers. So they decided that that will be the stopping point for now. Whether that remains, we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised them wanting to retest that area before any further downside or upside as well. So the only problem with 4,000 is that then you're only really working with about 28 points to the upside. So not too much profit margin. So you don't have that much statistical space to actually do something with that. So for me, that would be a dangerous trade. I am not a fan of breakouts. I think over the very long sample size that I've had over the last 18 years, even if there is a breakout, if it's a true breakout, you don't need to be in it at the point of a breakout, because if it continues, you'll actually get a smoother way to enter a little bit later on. If it's a true breakout, right? You're going into a trending day. I don't know whether that's the case today. Typically, I see those kind of wilder moves when you have like a mean reversion of some sort. And given that we are inside yesterday's business, we're all up in yesterday's business, we wouldn't expect a crazy day today. And in fact, whenever we open inside value, to me, that would be more a potential change of sentiment. Maybe we go down, but for now I would not be looking at further longs because of where we are, and also what's happening with the initial balance. So we have immediately gone below the initial balance, which is the first hour of trading, as we all know, if you've been here for a hot minute. So yeah, slower auction so far. So we are, for London, building some structure. So we already have 3 TPOs throughout the A, B, and C period. Why do I say that? This is A period, B period, C period. Basically, like each 30-minute time frame represents one letter. And some people will be like, letters? What? We talking cereal boxes? What's happening? But TPOs are a very nice sort of vertical histogram, kind of like this volume profile, except it's got more resolution, more detail inside it. And yeah, sure, you can put a volume profile on the actual session range. But to me, again, I need the initial balance to see exactly what we're doing with it. So it's just easier for me, and I think it's cleaner. So when I see that we are building value like this, and building 2, 3 TPOs, and here they are again, ABC. So this indicates that the auction is not terribly strong, right? It's not like, wow, we're going to have some huge move. It may happen later in the day, but as you know, around about this time of the day, things become a little bit sketchy and slow. Now, to add insult to injury, we do have positive gamma, but HVL from the 0 DTEs is only at 39.70 on gold. If we go below that with some confidence, I would expect the gamma environment to flip, and that means that any levels that you have, regardless whether they're from the options or from the profile or moving averages or whatever, on the intraday time frame, you would not expect them to be immediately reactive. In fact, I would expect them to go through those areas, then maybe retest them and then continue, because it's now negative gamma environment. And that means that if we have some major selling, that the market makers are going to have to keep selling, amplifying the move that is going on. So definitely finding a top from those larger time frames in outlook. I would be a bit careful with, the value area being where it is, because inside values usually means that you need to wait until a better trade location comes along. And of course we have the value area, but we cannot neglect the structure, the actual structure. Like, you have to look at your MGIs and, you know, where these highs and lows are being created. And then with volume, you know, obviously yesterday, right sort of an hour into the COMEX open, we had this big attempt at an exhaustion, right? So if we maybe attach a VWAP to that, see how the prices are reacting, that could be something to consider. So right now we're above it, but if we start to go below it and you close a 15-minute time frame, perhaps you want to stick away from longs. But if I was going to go long, I would wait until we try to exit the value, maybe do a little smash and grab below this 39.36 overnight low for Globex. And then if you get an exhaustion candle somewhere around there, you would maybe look for longs intraday. But that is how I'm looking at gold. I don't really think I'm interested in it where it's right now, because it's kind of middle of nowhere. And with gold, with the ranges that we have right now, you really have to be a little bit careful with your risk. And I know most of you are just kind of YOLOing it, and not even YOLOing it, but just kind of like, ah, that'll do. Well, for me, it won't do. I'm pretty selective with the types of trades that I take. And Andre yesterday on Fast Markets asked me, you know, how do I deal with FOMO? I honestly don't experience FOMO. I don't, because, you know, first of all, some of the single direction days, unless I caught them pretty early on, like I saw that this state was changing, and maybe I got a smash and grab, as I like to call them, from like the Asia highs or lows, and that's how I went in. If the big single trending day, single direction trending day is already on the way, those have hurt me more than they've helped me in the past. And because there are somewhat outliers, I'm not really looking at them as FOMO, because over the last 18 years, if I look at all of my bad days, there were only a few days where I tried to get into a continuation move and I was successful. Partially is because I don't really see a good way to limit risk. Volume is usually pretty uniform, so there's no exhaustion volume, so I can't even find a reference there. The structure is like, you know, the highs and the lows are so far away, so it's like, how do you limit risk? So I'm traditionally not that great at catching those single direction days, like I said, unless I caught them pretty early on. Yes, you can argue maybe if it breaks out of the initial balance, you can use, you know, the initial balance edge, outer edge, to try and find a trade. Maybe if there's a VWAP, but even on those days, VWAP is so far out, so you can't even use that. So yeah, on days when I had the initial balance edge somewhere there, you know, it was okay. But on most other days when we had a big day, to me it wasn't, you know, I don't see it as like, oh my god, I missed out. I just see it as like, okay, you do you. And then once it kind of settles into some normality and norms, those are the days when I make most of my cash. So I do not make my cash for the most part on outlier days, but rather the norms. And that is why I'm able to find 3 to 5 trades nearly every single day. But do I trade every day? No, I will not. You know, if I don't see anything obvious, or, you know, I'm doing something else and then I miss out on the moves, I'm not going to be chasing that. There's no need. It's only one day. Markets are going to be here long after all of us are gone, and they've been here long before any of us were here. So, you know, don't stress. Learn the art of JOMO, joy of missing out. And your life will be so much simpler and more enjoyable. Sandra says, do you have videos explaining your trading strategy? So throughout the years, like I used to do daily live streams on my own channel, Marcus Stalkers. Don't know whether that's still underneath here. Yeah, so they only put my Twitter. But if you go on to, I don't know why they put my Twitter. I'm barely active on there because I don't like FinTwit. It's all just, drama. And honestly, I can't be bothered. I'm too old for that. But yeah, if you go to my channel, there are a number of former daily live streams that I stopped doing probably in 2023, I think. And that was because, unfortunately, I had some health issues. So I was unable to keep going. My brain just wasn't, and my body just weren't functioning correctly. But I do have a ton of videos explaining different parts of it. Now, if you want like a structured thing, there is a website and whatever. So I do have my own community where I do teach people the ins and outs. There are about 4 moving parts to what I do. Time of day is a huge component of that. Obviously, I look at quantitative extremes, I look at profile, and each of those are little kind of components that help you find situational awareness. And traditionally, I'm pretty good at simplifying slightly more complex ideas into an easily digestible form. So this is probably why, to date, I've had over 10,000 people come to me for trading. And, it's very enjoyable being able to share my experience, for sure. But yeah, so there are a ton of videos tackling different issues, but I've not, decided to put everything on YouTube because it's obviously my intellectual property. It's not too difficult to reverse engineer what I'm doing either. But if you want it structured and stuff, that's what the CPD certified course is for, because my course is CPD certified. It is not like random. So every 12 months we go through a how would I put it, a review of what should be done. Some years we don't need to do anything, but other years, we had COVID, so that meant that I had to talk about some new things that people haven't maybe experienced, and they were running into those issues. So I decided to answer some questions from the traders, and that led to a few new lessons being created, more depth. So yeah, CPD certification I think is very important for any course. Without that, what are we doing? We're just talking. But yeah, situational awareness. I am very big on teaching people situational awareness. For the most part, I wouldn't stare at like a 2 and 3 minute chart all the time. So I always have 4-hour time frame, 30 minutes. And then if I'm looking for an entry, like especially when it comes to the smash and grab sort of moments, or liquidity sweeps, as some people call them. Yeah, so if there's a smash and grab, you have to reference low time frames because you won't catch those on a 30-minute time frame. So it's all down to context. Context is definitely king. But yeah, I'm known as somebody who can hold trades easily for 45 minutes, but normally between 78 and 100 minutes on average. So do I scalp? Only on a range day. I don't see a potential to scalp like 10 ticks when the setup can offer me 100. I think that's a complete waste of time and energy, personally. But it does come with skills. If you don't have skills to be that flexible on the days that require you to change your strategy, then obviously just stick to one thing. But even that comes with selectivity, right? So if you are just a one-trick pony type trader, you only have one setup. Is that really going to come every day when you sit right at your screen? Probably not. So you have to wait. So the big thing of trading, I would say that the job description that should be at the top of the list when you're looking at what does day trading require. Patience. Patience. And most people are like, oh, I have to trade NQ because I can't wait. What do you say to that? Good luck? I don't know. I am on the DAX short 2 targeting Asian low. I think Asian low might be a little bit too rich. Especially since, again, on DAX, we also don't have a very strong auction. We're building structure already. Yeah, retesting VWAP, that's fine. Not a problem there. But, you know, do we have juice today? It should have been a bit more lively and single direction. And right now, we haven't even exited the initial balance on DAX. So that is, to me, a sign to be a little less ambitious with my targets. So that's why I'm only looking for 23,775. And if it gets there, it gets there. And, you know, I'm not going to mess around with stops. I am committing to the risk. A lot of us call ourselves risk takers, and then you do everything in your power to avoid risk and pain. That never made sense to me. So, you know, I have my stop because of the market structure where it is, and until we move into a new market structure, which inevitably again means that you will have to suffer through a pullback. Most of you see a pullback, freak out, and then you just decide not to stay in a trade. Well, if you want to trade longer time frame setups, not like over days and days, but like if you want to hold something for 2 hours, you can't freak out over any pullback that happens. So you have to have your core orientation points. If they get run over, they get run over. It's just life, right? And you shouldn't turn into a 3-year-old throwing the toys out of the pram. But yeah, just be careful with the super ambitious targets, because when the market structure and the profile is saying that we don't have the strongest auction on our hands, we need to be a little bit more conservative with targets. So rather than aiming for 5R, you may want to consider at least booking some profits at the average session low exhaustion, which is, by the way, 23,760, 770. And then if you want to hold the rest of it, go for it. But to me, I'm going to be all out if we do tag 23,775. But step one, we need to get out of this bloody initial balance first. Otherwise, we have a watching paint dry inside day doing absolutely nothing. So yeah, we'll see. We shall see. Ben Joyner says, anyone how to spot reversals and breakouts? Wow, that's a loaded one. I mean, yeah, different ways of doing it. Can we fit it into an hour? Probably not. How to spot reversals? I mean, market structure would be one thing. For me, I like to catch reversals on some sort of an exhaustion volume, and then I would like to see it reverse on a low time frame with a very strong candle. And typically, I like to use Asia highs and lows for that purpose. Because Asia, especially on commodities and metals in particular, they set the range. A lot of the days will be it, right? Asia will set the range, especially if the Asia range is pretty sizable. And then, like you see yesterday, my copper trade, I went in based on the exhaustion candle. I put a little yawning emoji to say that they're tired of the downside. So yeah, so once you look at what happened here, so it was this candle that I was looking at. So at the time, you don't have all of this, right? You don't see that. All you're seeing is basically this. So what I want to see with the exhaustion, first of all, we had the overnight lows being created there. So that's pre-LME. I like to use LME for this purpose. And then LME sort of starts to move away from it, but then they promptly take it out. So smash and grab, they get exhausted. They're like, oh, that was exhausting. And then they go, and then they reverse the price action. So then the next thing you see is a big candle that is 1.7 times bigger on the volume from everything else at the point of the takeout of the lows. So that will be the first sign. This is a 3-minute chart. You can look at it on 2 minutes, 5 minutes. I sometimes look at 2 minutes. I sometimes look at 5 minutes if I want to slow everything down. But you will see the very same thing there. Oops, did I lose it? Oh, there we are. Okay, didn't lose it. But it's the same thing, right? You have a big exhaustion volume upon the smashing of the previous low when the next session comes in. So this was LME open here. So let's put a vertical line. LME opens at 11:40. How does the text look? Weird. Okay. Maybe top. Oh, middle. Okay, LME open. There we go. Let's make it white. So that was LME open. So remember, you have the London lows, and then the London Metal Exchange starts happening. They wake up sort of half an hour into it. They first go the wrong way, so that's called the head fake. There's a lot of that happening. And then they basically go to grab the lows that are nearby. Huge volume. That's then followed by what? A very strong candle is in the opposite direction that takes out 3 previous trending bars to the downside. And the wick that we have is very small. So that's a qualifying 2-minute bar for me to go into the trade. So I did actually see some volume on tape coming in here. And I entered, if you were watching Fast Markets, towards the end, I was already in at 91.30. And then I just waited for the candle. So I did do a little bit of a front run based on this exhaustion bar and the fact that we had some positive delta stepping in on the tape, and then the whole bubbles turned to the bid, so they started getting more green than red, and to me that was a sign to go in. Held this pretty much until almost till the end of LME, so that was towards the end of Fast Markets. Took it off somewhere there, and that was on my live account. Small trade, you know, just to see what's happening. But it was very systematic, and we held it for as long as we could. So yeah, and today let's see what copper is doing as well. So right now, copper, there it is. So right now we're kind of in around VWAP. We're at the bottom of the ranges on the big time frame. So here's a daily chart. This is daily low number 1 here, and this whole area is a demand area. We are already having a bit of a reaction there, so I'm not too keen on shorts because we're so close to the daily range low, and we have a range. This is definitely a range. It's distributing, and then we're going to see what we have. Now these COMEX values are from yesterday, so let's grab the new ones. Shall we grab the new ones? Okay, so first thing, value high, 96.40. Just going to do coordinates because it's easier. COMEX value low, 94.15. Average daily range low, so quantitative extremes, sitting at 85.95. And I'm going to change this to be a little bit bigger because this is how I like to mark off the average daily range, so full 24 hours versus the RTH range. So I'm going to put 24 hour here for anyone who hasn't seen me do this. And then the ADR high is sitting up at 5 evens, I suppose. And that is something we need to take note of as well. Even number, having an exhaustion area. Where is the current days? Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Current days initial balance. And that is it. I already did this. I don't remember doing that. That's weird. Yeah, so this is the initial balance low. So we are very much comprised inside of the COMEX value. So nothing to see there. Where is Asia low? Well, Asia low is all the way down at 88.90. And Asia high up at 97.40. And we didn't do the exhaustion move where we smash and grab. So the likelihood of this going down first is pretty high. Do I want to be involved? Well, we're starting to create a bit of a double distribution day. And the whole thing is actually pretty thick in structure. So this is your profile. Already 4 TPOs. So definitely not time yet when it comes to the speed of the auction to get involved in copper or gold. Although gold is trying to make a move. But it's still building structure. So this is A, B, C, D, E. So we are moving lower, but in a bit of a haphazard way. This is why I say on gold, when I try and trade it these days, especially in the last sort of 2-3 weeks, it's like trying to walk a drunken dog. So we're going up and down and up and down and up and down, but we're sort of running towards some sort of an arbitrary goal. Haphazardly. Asia actually has much smoother movement. I sleep during Asia, so I'm not going to be doing that. I value my sleep. So in order to, make good trading decisions, you really need your sleep. You cannot be sleep deprived, because that's kind of like being, I think there was a study done where they said having sleep narcosis is even worse than being drunk, because your motor functions are completely impaired, and that's not good. Sandy is here, yeah. So by the way, Sandy makes these things. She crochets. It's my sister, by the way. Yeah. What's the green trending line on your chart? It's just a moving average, 16 MA. Sometimes on trending days, I like to look at the trend and how that 16 moving average is behaving on a 5-minute chart, and then it sort of gives me a little bit more idea. Do you do one-on-one for a very small amount of people? Columbus. I typically don't take, like before I used to take on, I think 4 people a month, but these days it's only 7 a year. It's not, I like to do what I do, but if I'm going to get involved with coaching someone, they typically have to be already from like certain professions where they already have like the speed of thinking and being good under pressure, and that's never going to be someone who is ultra young, or I don't know you, I'm just saying my criteria. So usually I take on engineers, I take on doctors, I have quite a few doctors, chefs, pilots, ship captains. Why? Because those individuals typically already have the speed of thinking, and they are very, very good under pressure. A lot of them have excellent memory because you have to remember a whole bunch of stuff in those disciplines. High-level musicians and athletes who have done it to a professional standard and have had university. So you need to have at least some university, just purely because of the structured way that I do things. So if somebody is not familiar with submitting documents and they just give me one essay in a textual form that is very messy, and then I have to spend the best days of my life trying to figure out what they're trying to say, even though I give them a template. Yeah, so that was not very productive. And I've been doing coaching people for, I suppose 7 years online, but even before that, people in the prop firms used to. So here's how I fell into coaching. It wasn't some like calculated decision of like, I'm going to create a course now and then, blah. It wasn't like that. It was literally me working for a prop firm, somebody coming up to me and going, oh my God, you're always in profit. Like, what the hell? And, there'd be days when I would be like, sick with the flu or something, and I'm still in the office like coughing away, and I would still be in profit. So sometimes I would be catching my exhaustion trades, and they're like, how the hell did you do that? So you start to explain to them. And the way Marcus Stalker's courses began was basically me on a trading floor explaining to 12 people around me how I did the setup. So then I started to get questions from people on Skype. This is how old I am. Yes, Skype was a thing. So they would be asking me questions like, what, I took this trade, do you think this was okay? Did I misread something? Or, was this just luck, or did I actually read it properly? So that kind of turned into me constantly being on Skype. Like, it took over my life to the point that I would be going out for dinner with my husband, and we would be sitting down in a restaurant, and I would be like on my phone. And then I would look over, and he would just be like, you gonna stop now? So he would get a little bit annoyed with me because I was so obsessed with markets, and I still am. I still have a massive passion. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. The markets to me are like kind of like playing detective, answering questions that nobody asked, solving crimes that nobody wants to know about. So that kind of turned into, I'm talking normal people. Normal people don't know anything about what we do here. But when we are, when I was doing the whole Skype thing, it took over my life. So I needed a way to put my answers so that somewhere where those 12 people that were asking me questions that I was working with, they were, newly funded traders, so that I could explain it to them. So I started putting the videos up on a very small website. Now, back in the day, this was like 10 years ago, it was very difficult to incorporate video services into a website. It was quite expensive, and I did that for a while, but then in the end, I decided I was going to move that to YouTube. So in 2015, me still having big purple hair, you can go back to the first video that I did ever on that channel, Dee looking about 12, even though I was already 35 at that point. Me explaining in a very awkward way, because I was not very good with talking to myself in a room like I do now, like a crazy person. So it was just my way to try and share some knowledge in a more compartmentalized way. That's the best way to say it. And then from there on out, when I put it up on YouTube, it was only like how to use supply and demand on a low time frame intraday, what to look out for. And I was explaining a version of a SEEB and WEEB setup, like basically when something moves away and then comes back to that level intraday, if it's that kind of a day, you usually can look for a reversal. And I still had a bit of a hang up in the accent from when I was like in Chicago. So I was saying things like demand, and like my accent was like really weird, and it's still weird because I'm natively Serbian, but I'm a naturalized British, and I've been here for well over 20 years now. So at this point, I'm coming up to a point where I've lived in the UK longer than I have in Belgrade, which is crazy to me, but here we are. Yeah, so in the end, when I put it up on YouTube, suddenly in like, I don't know whether it was like 1 week or so, I didn't check it. I thought that video is going to have the whole of the 12 views from the people that I was working with. Suddenly there was like 20, 30,000 views, and I'm like, what? So I started getting a lot of emails from people, and back in the day you could DM people on YouTube as well. So I used to get a whole bunch of people going, do you have a book? Do you have a course? How do I learn this? Where do I learn this? You know, how do I get involved? And I was like, I don't have a book, don't have a course, no idea, never done this before, this is new. So in the end, out of the need of people who, you know, kept coming to me, I figured maybe I should write a book. So I wrote a book. I wrote Price Action Trading with Institutional Order Flow. That was my first self-publishing. It's not like, you know, I don't have like a publisher or anything like that. It's just literally me going to Amazon, KDP, and just publishing a book. So it's not like super high quality. Don't expect miracles. But the content in there is what resonated with a lot of people. And then the next stage was for me to somehow start working on some sort of a structured lecture. Because books were all very well. People resonated with them. But they wanted video format. So I was like, okay, how do I do this? It took me nearly 2 years, maybe even longer than that, 2 years to come up with the first iteration, because I wasn't happy until most questions that people may have in different situations are satisfied. So I spent a lot of my time giving everything I know into that format. And now I do have a degree, so I could be, you know, a professor if I wanted to. I don't want to though. However, I am very, very familiar with the methodics of learning. Watching a 4-hour webinar where people just waffle on about random things, it's fun. Yes, you can definitely derive value from it, but it's not structured. So therefore your learning curve is going to be much longer than somebody who is having like a real educational experience where you're introduced to the initially abstract concept, and then through experimentation and doing trades, so observation, then some trading, you get experiential data. Now all of that is a part of the Kolb's experiential learning cycle, right? And it's the fastest way to level up performance-based disciplines, which is what trading is. So trading is not some, you know, activity where you're just like, well, I click buttons, that's it. It is a performance discipline. That's why we frequently equate us being traders to be mental athletes, because that's what you need to do. You need to have self-awareness. You need to know your weaknesses. You need to know your strengths. You need to be aware of the mental triggers at any point until you sort out what your mental triggers are. I'm pretty good at that. I know that my mental triggers are if I'm in a potential swing trade, but then we don't get a movement, and then I'm stuck in a like just basically watching paint dry for 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours. That irks me. It irks me, but I know that. So when I see that, I've devised coping mechanisms to push myself out of that and to just go, oh well, next. And not to go, oh you bastard, oh I'm gonna get back at you, oh just you wait. Like, you know, you don't lose the plot on those days. And you might have entirely different mental triggers. Now, this is where coaching one-on-one can help people, because that's what we do. We look at individual traders' mental triggers. It's not about the levels. Levels is the easy part, right? Here's your value area. This is how profile works. Here's the exhaustion. We either go up to them, then reverse, or we go through them, outlier day, right? That is the easy part, price action levels. The difficult part is figuring out what triggers you. That's why the VIP program exists, and it is a group coaching session, so we're not as able to get like, you know, one-to-ones and figure out what every single trader's mental triggers are. But if we're working with somebody one-to-one, then yes, it definitely is much easier, and your learning curve becomes much shorter and much steeper, right? Because you're able to work with yourself in light of whatever you're seeing. And I will say, unpopular opinion, I don't think NQ should be traded by 90% of people who trade it. Because it irks you and it causes emotional dysregulation. And then you turn into the inner critic comes out, and then you're flogging yourself every single day when you have a red day and you're unable to let it go. That's the problem. That means that is not suitable for your personality. If you can have a red day and walk away with not getting annoyed, not being frustrated, not thinking about it deep into the night, keeping you awake, then it's not for you. You know, you need to have a red day, be okay with it, be fine with your decisions, and then focus on what's next, right? Not like what happened yesterday, because we can't change that. You have to be more dog, you know, live in the moment, live in the now. How can I make this better now? Not what happened yesterday, not what happened a month ago, not how you effed up the XFA like 3 months ago and it's still looming over you like a dark cloud and going, yes, it's gonna happen again. That is a trauma. That's like literally psychological trauma that you need to tackle. Otherwise it will stay with you and it's gonna eat into you every single day that you click a button. It's gonna be like, oh, but what if that happens again? Well, then deal with it. Don't just let it fester inside you every time you do trades. That's how people get to years and years and years. No payout, constantly in a cycle of combines, buying more evals, never sticking to one and giving it the proof of concept that it needs. You saw a guy yesterday, was it Jacob? Don't know whether it was Jacob. No, it was somebody else later on in the day. They were talking about being happy with like 200 a day, risking 200 to get 200. Pretty successful. But some people will be like, yeah, it's not enough. You can't go from 0 to hero. Like 200 should be enough for now. Proof of concept first, consistency that you can generate 150, 200 per day. Then that's scalable. But it's just for now. Size down, slow down, breathe. You know? Anyways, let's get back to it. Shay says commodities trading seems way more predictable than indices. I don't think it's predictable. I think that equities are very one-sided. And once it goes to one side, you need to stay out of it. Unless you're just like scalping and whatever. But to me, seeing equities are boring to me, if I'm going to be honest. Only on some days where we're kind of like turning around, there's a potential for maybe some shorts, then it becomes interesting. But commodities, I think, are a lot more double-sided intraday. And for traders, that's what you want. You don't want a product that just moves once per day, goes into a trend without you, and that is the end of the story. The reason why I like copper, the reason why I like RBOB, used to like crude oil, natural gas as well, is like, for example, yesterday I took a late short on natural gas, even though I know that everything is pointing to a sentiment change. Why? Because we have the daily chart, well actually it was weekly chart, showing us that we have gone into potentially a change of sentiment. Why? Because we have these things going on. Now we're still fighting, we're still definitely fighting, but we've gone through the low volume node that we had previously. So we had, I can't make it look now, but this was a low volume area. We've gone nearly all the way through it. Now I'm a little bit interested to see what happens at this supply here. Yeah, let's do a rectangle. So what's going to happen here? Are we going to reverse? Because we still have mild weather in the Midwest. You know, I was partially joking yesterday with Jack. I was like, how's the weather? How's the weather in the Midwest? Should I long it? Because there is a big connection with natural gas demand and how the prices behave. So obviously we're coming into a time of the year where the demand should be rising, but by all accounts we will need colder than average weather to get that. So right now this is all very sketchy because we haven't got into the cold weather yet, and for now it's all still up in the air, so we'll see. But you know, yesterday, very nice move up intraday. This is a daily chart, and if we look at the intraday, so this was yesterday, right? So here is the NYMEX open. Let's do a little initial balance marker. Outlier day, so we went into a failed auction, rotated all the way through, pumped a little bit higher, but I was still looking at this towards the end of the day. This is one of the setups that I am known for, right? So this is kind of, you can argue that these sort of setups made my career. End of day, energies market faded into settlement. So this is a 30-minute time frame, but if we focus on this time, this is the last half hour of NYMEX. So let's do a vertical line here. So let's now go down to a low time frame. Well, reasonably low. So what do we have? So at the time, the only thing you've got is time of day. So I know that this was the previous high. So time of day, somewhere around 6:30 my time, which is an hour before we start reversing, I start looking at the potential fade for the day. Now yesterday, the defining setup for this was the fact that we did have a neutral day type, and it wasn't super crazy, right? So I thought some reversion to the mean somewhere should definitely be on the cards. And at the time, this reversal candle was the strongest, but we didn't really bleed through it until a little bit later on, and after that designated time of day, which is 6:30 p.m. my time. That was a sign for me to go into a short. And not the biggest trade, but we did get a very nice pump. And then this happened. Wasn't very happy with that. However, was watching tape. They kind of tried taking it higher. Didn't break any structure. In fact, they tagged the reversal point, and then they just kind of kept going. So I kept this. For a while. Didn't keep it until the end of the market, but I managed to grab 50 ticks out of it. So that was a pretty decent trade. Normally on other days you can expect about 35 to 40 ticks out of those day range fill moves. But yeah, so counter trend to what's going on in the daily. But why? Because the time of day was right for that. And I love shorts and energies. Sue me. It's just how it is. And then this evening, this morning even, they kind of took it lower. I do think that this is going to be a test of some lows previously before we go higher. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm still undecided on natural gas. I want to be long. Will I be? Nobody knows. SC wants to know whether block indicators only work on AMP futures. Yeah, so far. However, I am about to roll out something that I've been creating for people who are not keen on going to AMP. And that is a utility Discord bot. So I'm going to show this here. So utility Discord is where you get our levels, and so I'm only printing, so this is the equities thing. At the beginning of the day you get the market profile levels. You get it for New York, London and Tokyo. but you then also get daily range and session range. So market profile will be printed once a day. The rest of them will be printed 3 times a day. So range is 3 times a day because they do update throughout the day, but the value area from the previous day stays the same. So this is something we've been working on, and I'm literally about to formulate a video where I explain the average ranges, and then we're going to be making this. I just need to see how I can connect that to YouTube memberships, because I don't want people to have to go to some complicated other thing. I just want them to get the YouTube membership from me, and they also get the Discord access with our levels. What you do with them is up to you. You can basically just take in these. So you go New York session for, this is ES, so it is CQG data. I'm sorry, my cavalier is coughing in the background. He does have a heart condition. He's not in heart failure yet, so that's weird. But he does cough, especially if he's been lying down. Anyways, so New York ES range for the average session range is 205 ticks. And then you get the session range from like for the London thing, so that's not going to be relevant for New York Stock Exchange. It's just London session ranges. But if you want the daily ranges, there they are. So this is ES daily ranges. So where are we? Current price 67, or when it was being created at 8 a.m. Target high 68.16. Target low 67.33. It does do the full on like price for price. It doesn't go quarter 50 75. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, so we're still kind of working on this, and I have not printed all of the levels that we need, but at the moment, let's see, what do I have? I've got the session range for copper, silver, and gold, and the profiles. And on energies, I think I only have crude oil at the moment. So I'm still working on it. Yeah, so you won't need to have the indicator directly on the chart. You can just log into, look at Discord, get the levels, pop them on the chart, and then you can put them in any platform that you wish. Is it fully automated? Well, obviously not, because you have to do what I do with TopstepX nearly every single day, right? Or every single day. But it is kind of a workaround while we do develop tools for other people. And I'm hoping that at some point TopstepX is going to have third-party indicators, so we can bring that to Topstep too, but that is not currently possible. How long have I been trading? 18 years. I look like a kid. I am not. I'm 45 in December. You seem to trade copper a lot. Any reason? Yeah, I love it. I love it. The reason is I like how it moves. It matches my personality. I'm not, like, I am a Mediterranean woman, but I'm not really that explosive. Trading has taught me not to be. And I just love it. I love the fact that I can limit risk on it. I love the fact that I can grab anywhere from 70 to 200 ticks on the day. I like the fact that it gives me time to think and that I don't have to stress. Like, it's literally low stress. No sudden turnarounds where for like 29 minutes your candle that you're looking at on 30 minutes is red, and then in the last 30 seconds it turns around and then becomes massively green. Copper doesn't do that unless it's like close to the news. But generally, if you've gotten to 20 minutes into the TPO, you start looking at the candle bar, and you're like, okay, so that's pretty red now. Maybe I should attempt to trade in that direction. So it just allows me complete mental peace while still having enough movement to appease Granny D. So yeah, I just love it. I love it. That, you know, being comfortable in a in the products that you're trading, and you know, being able to make good trading decisions. That's the biggest thing that not many people are talking about. Does your product match your personality, and can you emotionally regulate while trading it? So if you can answer that, then you've got something. Shay says, do I teach market stalker strategy in VIP? Certain parts of it, yes. So I don't know whether that's a good thing though, because in the VIP one, the first VIP that I did in whenever it was March, I was more kind of like, let's see, this group coaching thing. So I will be assuming competence and then just working with whatever they've got. I don't know whether that was the right approach. So this time around, I did give them like literally the cornerstones of what I'm doing. So that involved supply demand areas on large time frames. I gave them the times of day that I look at. I gave them the profile and the quantitative extremes and how to calculate them. And honestly, I don't know how many of them actually, like, I kind of feel like, and forgive me if any of my VIPs are here. So you let me know, because from the looks of it, not many people have taken on the ideas. They're almost like, oh yeah, Dee, we'll just do whatever we're doing already. So I don't really know whether I should be doing that. Because many times I feel like I'm talking to almost like a wall, where I've talked about something and then I get to the chat and then they're asking the same questions that I answered in the lectures. It's like, did you not see it? We have a repo with the lectures, and they're like, oh well, I did see it. So I don't know. I'm a little bit, you know, kind of lost for what the right group coaching idea should be, because I know what I'm doing with one-to-ones, right? I take the traders' stats usually, we look at that, then we go into, you know, a talk to see whether I can help them at all, and then we identify the issues. But for the most part, they're already familiar with what I'm doing. Some of them are already on the Pro Dev course anyway, so they're now upgrading to Gold, which is my coaching. But yeah, in the group coaching setting, it's like I've done all these lectures and stuff, and people are still like, yeah, I'm just doing what I used to do because that works for me. And I'm like, well, what are you doing in the VIP then? Like, I don't get it. Is it like a psychological thing? So should I just do the next season where we're just talking about mindset, psychology, sorting your own mental triggers? Maybe, but I'm still trying to figure out the group coaching aspect of it. I'll be completely honest, because I don't know how to make people listen, honestly. And we get this whole thing where in the beginning we have like 40 people, you know, out of the 50 they're attending and everything, and then as the VIP gets going towards the end, people are like, oh, I couldn't make it, is there a recording? Oh, I couldn't make it, is there? It's like, well, you could make it in the first month. Like, what's changed? So I don't really believe that for 1 second. It's just not enough commitment. So something needs to change there for sure. Not just on in my group, it's like across the board. So I don't like to see that, and I want to help people, but if you don't want to be there, not really my issue, you know, to be perfectly blunt. It's like, if you can't be bothered to be joining the live sessions, and we've done joint session with a lot of coaches. I did one with Hogue. I don't know whether we had like 15 people in there. It's like, come on guys, it's Hogue. I'm going to ask him about the secret sauce, right? And they're like, yeah, I couldn't make it. Do you have anybody else to blame if you're still struggling? Like, you've been given this beautiful opportunity to work with all of us who have been doing this for a very long time, and some people just have not taken that, or they've taken it for granted because it's free. I don't know. And I think that's what it is, because you're not paying for it, and people just see it. Oh, it's free reset. So out of everybody, I think we've got like 8 people that are like super dedicated per each group, and then I don't know what the rest of them are doing. So yeah, but I do. I spill the beans. I spill the tea in my VIP groups, and yet people are still doing whatever. How does ADP employment change, increase, decrease affect gold? So the ADP number, to me, it's like it just gives you a bit of a jolt. That's usually what happens. Which side it's going to go, it's anybody's guess. I don't really look at ADP as a serious release, because it's one of those releases that's like a projection. It's not like an actual number. They're just, well, based on what we've seen last month around about this area, this time of the month, we will see, we are guessing, basically guesstimating, that's what ADP is. I'm guessing that it's going to be this number, and it's like, yeah, whatever. So I always look at ADP as a, meh, and they always adjust it. That's the funny thing about it. So I don't like ADP as a number. I don't look at it as anything major. On my commodities, it's not a huge number. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. But on equities and gold, it usually gives you a good jolt. So don't trade directly into it. Maybe wait a couple of minutes until it's out and see whether there's anything obvious. If not, wait until the actual, data that you normally wait for, slightly later in the session, once the craziness of the first sort of 30 minutes or so are done, and then that just trade as normal. That's what I used to do. I used to trade ES a lot more. I still trade DAX, so yeah. Where are you from and where do you live? I live in England, lived in London for 23 years, 24 years. Recently bought a house in the English countryside. So we sold our London home and then came here. But I am from Belgrade, Serbia, originally. However, us as a family were a bit of a blend of Greeks, Italians, and Turks. And Serbians, obviously. But yeah, so that's why people can't figure me out. Like I've had, especially when I had dark hair, my natural hair is very dark. And and then with a weird accent as well. So people would be like, are you Irish? And I'm like, no. Iranian? And I'm like, that's a weird one. Okay. Egyptian? That was new. So people guess every other possibility. Latina, I get that a lot. Every time I'm in Florida, I go to Florida and I get, people coming up to me and jabbering Spanish at me. And I'm like, I don't speak Spanish. And then one time a woman turned around and said, you should learn your language. And I was like, not my language though. There is that. But yeah. So I don't know, former Yugoslavia is like a big melting pot of all the Mediterranean people. And you can find like super fair-skinned people, not very often, but there are a few. And then you find really dark-skinned people. Like you would think that they are not even white, and yet they are. So they're considered Mediterranean. So you have dark Mediterranean, and you have lighter people that look more Slavic. I'm now going gray, so whatever my natural hair color used to be, it is beside the point. But yeah, it's a very weird sort of area. Are you going to put on a trade soon? I don't have any levels made. I've got a DAX trade going. That's a little bit dancing around there, but we can't trade DAX on Topstep. That's what I normally trade at this time of the day. All the other levels are not here, but here we have VWAP that is causing some issues on DAX. Still waiting for DAX to smash through that initial balance low. Trying to create a drop-based drop from the ADR high, which was... so ADR low was hit in Asia, then rotated all the way back through the ADR high. So I'm just waiting for a drop-based drop to happen. They're probably waiting for numbers, so that may not happen until later on. And will I do a trade? Probably not. Like, I don't really see anything apart from DAX, so I am already in a trade. I'm just waiting. So for the metals, I will probably be looking at LME open and then maybe doing a trade towards the midday side of things. I like to wait until LME does their thing, usually waiting for a smash and grab from one of the lows that they create. Right now we have the Asia low on copper at 488.85, so that's my first sort of point of interest. Are we anywhere near that? No. And I'm not going to be doing the trade just because, what's your name? Jimmy Patel wants to see me click a button. That's not how trading works. I've said it many times, I'm pretty selective with my trade locations. There's a lot of value to derive from me talking about the levels, what I want to see, and I want to see the same thing. So I want to see us getting to this point at some part of the day, and then an exhaustion candle on a low time frame, big reversal with no meaningful wick on a 2-minute that takes out the trending candles, at least 3 trending candles before it, and then I'll go in. And then later in the day, I want to see if I can get a long on natural gas. And again, right now, I'm just waiting. But yes, I am in a trade. And you know, I wish we could trade DAX on Topstep, but we can't yet. It will come. It will come. Don't ask me when. They are working on it in the back. And you know, if you were there for Fast Markets yesterday, MP was saying how they just hired like over 100 new people. So, you know, Topstep is growing, ridiculously so. And it's nice to see. So 2026 is going to be pretty interesting with growth and all the stuff that we want to bring to you guys. But yeah, you have to be a bit patient with certain things. And still, remember, Topstep X is a very new platform. I've done some projects on platforms. Platforms of this sort, even if they're coming from like a white label thing, but you want to do a lot of stuff by yourself, they take like 5 to 7 years to do. And here's MP like rolling it out in like, I don't know whether they were working on it for like 9 months when they first rolled it out. And I don't know whether you know this, I was the first live account on Topstep X. Wasn't very happy about it because all the bugs went through me. But I did work as a... I didn't work. I said that I was going to help. So I was reporting all the bugs to them. But yeah, it went through to the first live account, which was D2116. A lot of firsts with Topstep. I was the first female funded trader back in 2015. First live account. Where can I find this Discord? Edgar, keep your eyes peeled on my YouTube channel, Marcus Stalker's channel, because I'm about to make the video, but I need to like create, to integrate the Discord memberships with the YouTube memberships, because that's how I'm going to do it. And then you'll be able to just join, click a button, and then get instant access to that. I'm going to have different levels because obviously some people only want equities. So me, you know, providing all of the levels, it's pointless if you never look at golds, if you never look at crude oil, right? So I'm going to have probably like one just for equities, one just for metals, one for energies, and then one major membership where you get all of it. So you can kind of pick and choose what you want. But it's going to be a utility Discord. Utility. Do not expect me to go in there and expect coaching from me. It's like, oh, how do you use this? No, those are levels that you learn in either pro dev or by watching these videos or by watching my YouTube channel. So there will be no coaching there. And the person who is in there right now is one of my software guys. He is going to be in there, but he's not going to be in there answering coaching questions. He's not a trader. He's a fintech guy who's worked for banks, and he's not going to be there to answer the questions of why your stops were not getting filled on Topstep. Okay, but yeah, so we have a different portal for that side, and do not try to ask Mr. Cater what the trade setup is, because he's not going to tell you. But yeah, Paul H says, I think the issue with the VIP is there's no experience required. It's a good thing because new people are presented with real trading knowledge, but if they're not ready, it's an issue. I actually had somebody this season where they're fairly new, and I think they were like taught to scalp mindlessly. And they couldn't understand, any of the concepts. They were kind of getting lost in it. So yeah, I think you have a good point there. Hogue is the GOAT. If I could do a to the floor bow to Hogue, I would. Hogue is a big friend of mine at this point, but he is my mentor. And one of the nicest, calmest human beings that I've ever had the privilege to spend time with. And he's so lovely. I mean, truly, the whole of the Topstep family is really, we have something special here. Everybody's kind of got this partly entertainer side to them. Obviously, Eddie was a stand-up comedian, and he makes those puppets. He's amazing. Hogue was a musician, and he was a skateboarder in his youth as well. I know it's funny to think about it now, but Hogue has got some talents to him. And then obviously he's got the voice. Then we've got MP, who was an athlete when he was young. We have, and MP is just a character. Like every time I see him, I'm like, yeah, it's great. We have Andre. Andre is a very funny guy, actually. He's a incredibly, he's seeing him grow. It's so amazing because he started off being a little bit not sure what we're doing and what's happening, but he grew into his TV personality very nicely. We have Dolby, also a drummer. We have James Harden. James has actually got a theater background. One of the producers. It's amazing. Everybody has this entertainer side to them. I was a session musician for 20 years, rock and pop, saxophone and electric guitar. So yeah, I think that's what makes TopstepTV special. MP has found all of us to create not just a random trading channel where we just talk about levels. No, it is truly tradertainment as well as news, as well as a whole bunch of other things, as well as the community. And it's so nice having all of us here now, almost kind of like a culmination of what was started with the Squawk Radio so many years ago. And yeah, it's I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. Paul H says, some students don't even go to the lectures their university education is paid for. Can't help those either. Exactly. Yeah. Calvin says, I would love to work with you. Lovely. I would like to work with you too. Cedric, yeah, I tried so many times to be in the VIP. What a luck to be in for those who are. Yeah. Willie Key says, neighbor, I'm Hungarian. Hello, neighbor. Hello. Any news on the time slot change? No, not yet. I have no idea. Do you trade DAX with a prop? Well, that's a bit difficult. I mainly trade DAX on my own account. There are actually, I think there are options now. I think before it was only one through TradeOvate. And don't really want to mention that one because they've gone really weird. So it's just weird. But I think Trade Day has it now. So out of all the companies that I respect, if you've been on my channel, you know that I did interviews with Trade Day guys, and they're solid, like they're solid people. And I think, let me see something. Let me try and see, because I do have their eval. And you know, if you're gonna trade Eurex at the moment, it all has to be through TradeOvate. They're the only ones that can offer this. And then obviously Ninja is kind of connected to it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, they have, okay, so, yeah, so Trade Day do have Eurex now. Interesting. But it will be the same thing as the other options for Eurex, which is like TradeOvate, then you would have to purchase an extra data feed. You can't just get it straight out of the box just by buying an eval. So you will have to pay like $24 for Eurex data, and then you can have it. But not all companies have it, so I just checked whether they have it, and they do. Wouldn't go to certain other companies if you don't want drama with payouts. And Trade Day, like Topstep, there's no drama. So yeah. Are you a live funded trader? Yes, I am. How come my DOM only has one number in bid and ask? Your DOM has multiple numbers. Cal Gold, go to your billing, and then you will have to buy level 2 data. Then you're going to get more numbers. And for something like ES, don't know whether they're going to... See, I don't pay for ES on my live, and that affects this one. So Crude Oil, I think, has more. Has 100. Woo! Crude Oil at 61.50. We've got 522 contracts waiting. What is that? It's just past Gamma Wall. It says GEX1. Says, I guess GEX1 might be a stabilizer today, 61.50. So yeah, you have to purchase level 2 data. You go to the new dashboard on the left. There should be... What is it, Bruno? Add-ons? Remind me again. Because I'm still in the old dashboard. Oops. I need to change that, obviously. I think it's add-ons in the new one. Yeah. Right, just looking what DAX is about to do here. Now, one thing I want to look out for is that they don't use this low for a volume exhaustion. And we're going to be finishing the stream very soon. Copper is now extending to the downside, creating some single prints, but again, I want to see what happens around that LME low, overnight low, into LME. That's going to be open in about 40 minutes. Once we get the time slot changed, that's going to be easier to watch in real time. Then we can see what LME wants to do. Because usually my setups are around midday. So if we ever change to 11 o'clock, the stream would be starting now. And then we would be running until 12:30 my time. So covering that whole sort of first part of the LME. But I don't know when that's coming. Don't ask me. We'll let you know. Don't call us. We'll call you. Anyways, that's it. So no trades on Topstep, 1 trade on DAX. Doing okay right now. Drop-based drop possibly in progress. I'm going to wait and see what happens here. We'll start maybe managing it a bit more actively once we get down to 23,800. Or if this low here starts giving me exhaustion trouble, that means it could reverse. And in that case, I will have to bail earlier. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week. You will see me tomorrow. We have NFP, I think. Do we have NFP? Is the government open? That is the question, the main question. Yeah, so that's all for me. This was the Euro Trade. I'm Marcus Toker D. Trade safe, and I will see you very soon. Take care.